Now that you've created a project, it would be useful to see it in action. Visual Studio has a virtual web server that lets you test your site without needing to upload it to the internet. In this lesson, you'll learn how to start the virtual web server to see the pages that were automatically created as part of your web application. First, open the My Project sample file if it isn't already open. Then, open default.aspx by double-clicking on it in the Solution Explorer. You can now start debugging by clicking Debug, Start Debugging, or by clicking the Play button on the toolbar. After a short delay, the default.aspx page is displayed in your web browser. Notice the path in the address bar. Localhost is the web address of your own computer. When you started debugging, Visual Studio started a virtual web server on your computer at this address, so you can test your project. Note that if you click the About button, you will see an error. This is because you deleted the about.aspx file in Lesson 1.7. Close your web browser now to stop debugging. Note that if you're using a browser other than Internet Explorer, you might find that sometimes the virtual web server doesn't close properly when you close your browser window. If this happens, you can stop debugging manually by clicking Debug, Stop Debugging, or by clicking the Stop button on the toolbar. Next, we're going to change the Start page of the project to mypage.aspx. To do this, right-click on mypage.aspx in the Solution Explorer and click Set as Start Page. If you now start debugging, you'll see that mypage.aspx is the first page that is displayed. You didn't put anything on mypage.aspx, so it will be blank. Because mypage.aspx is now the start page, it will always appear first when you start debugging. Close your web browser now. Most web developers need to test their websites in several browsers. To change the browser that Visual Studio uses for debugging, right-click on default.aspx and click Browse With. The window that appears shows all of the browsers you have installed. Notice that I have Firefox installed, as well as Internet Explorer. Visual Studio works best with Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is already my default browser for debugging, but I can make sure of this by clicking on it and then clicking Set as Default. If I then click Browse, the page is displayed in Internet Explorer, but you can use this dialog to test your pages in different browsers. Close your browser now. When you start debugging, your project is built. This is another word for compiling, which you learned about in Lesson 1.6. When your project is built, all of its code is checked for errors. If there are any major errors, the virtual web server won't be able to start, and Visual Studio will try to explain why. Open the code behind file of default.aspx by double-clicking default.aspx.cs in the Solution Explorer, and type some nonsense into the space below Page Load. You'll notice that the text has been underlined in red. Visual Studio has already noticed that there's something wrong with this code. Try starting debugging now. A dialog appears, warning you that there are build errors, and asking if you'd like to use the last successful build instead. Click No. delete the nonsense, and start debugging again. This time, mypage.aspx is displayed correctly, although of course it is empty. Close your web browser and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 1.8, Run a Project in Debug Mode.